Good morning, y'all. Welcome to another video on the Luderco Arms channel. So, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to start putting all of the non-car videos on Wednesdays. I can't guarantee you that there's going to be a video every Wednesday. There'll still be car videos every Saturday because that work never ends. You can see the big pile of parts we have here waiting to go on the various cars. So the car videos will still be on Saturdays, but I think I'm going to move most of the gunsmithing videos, field stripping, or me just running my mouth to Wednesdays. So there's one, I already posted one Wednesday video last week, field stripping a Smith & Wesson M&P EZ9, but this will be the first official one. And so what this video is going to be about is a subject that I am painfully familiar with, as I suffered it at one time in my life, and that is the infamous Dear John letter. So if you've never been in the military or don't know what the term Dear John letter refers to, this is when a military person, soldier, sailor, airman, marine, what have you, is off at war and gets a letter from his wife stating that she wants a divorce or won't be there when he gets back, etc. And they've always been called Dear John letters as far as I know. You know, this has been occurring as long as war has been occurring. But of course, in this last war, it expanded because while in 2003, when the war started, we were still doing letter writing, by 04, 05, there was email communications, there were telephones starting to come in, and then the closer you get to the modern day, from there you had satellite phones and worldwide smartphones, and communication was much easier. But that's basically what the term Dear John letter means. So this story will be a little bit longer because I got to kind of set it up for you where I was and how this came to be. So in 2003, my National Guard unit was called up to go for the invasion of Iraq. So we're combat engineers. And we loaded up and we headed to Iraq. And I was married, not to the wonderful woman that I am married to now, but to what is now my ex-wife. And we loaded up, we went to Iraq. So during the invasion and about the first 8 months of the war, the only communication home that we had available to us was letter writing. We did not have internet cafes or any of the other stuff that came along during the next 20 years of the Iraq War. Letter writing is what we had. So I wrote home probably every other day. I would send a letter home, even if it was just a short little, you know, I'm alive, thinking of you type deal. I'm cleaning the shop as I'm talking to y'all. So there we are, we're in Iraq, we invaded, we're you know, doing engineer stuff, doing missions every day. And I was the battalion recovery NCO, which means I was in charge of a battalion section. I had about 6 soldiers under me. I was a staff sergeant. And we did all of the recovery missions for the battalion, which is basically driving a military tow truck. We basically, every convoy that went out, we were the last vehicle in the convoy. And then we would also have additional missions to go out and pick up vehicles off the battlefield whenever, whenever it was needed. So about 6 months into the tour, we had an individual in the battalion. He was a cook. He decided to one night start taking pot shots at our own people. He missed. He sucked at shooting. But now we had the problem of, we've got this dude, and what do we do with him? So the next day, the battalion commander called me and another guy who, I'm going to leave names out of this because obviously I don't know, while I'm good friends with this gentleman still, I don't know that he would want this video. Anyways, calls us in his office. We're both staff sergeants. He says, look, we got this jag off that decided to start shooting at people, and we need to do something with him. We got to get him to the MPs or get him to the loony bin or what have you. So I'm giving you guys a mission, and there's little guidance and no support, and basically you need to take this guy to Dogwood, which was another fire base that had a field hospital, and try to get the hospital to take him as a loony bin. And so we're like, okay. He's like, if they won't take him, then see if the MPs are there and they can take him. So we go, get in the truck, and each one of us, me and my buddy, have basically a basic combat load and a rucksack with a couple pairs of drawers and a couple of brown t-shirts, and basically what you would need for a couple of days out. We head out, we go to Dogwood, we get with the field hospital there, and they're kind of like, we don't really have anything, we don't know what to do with them. They don't have a psychologist. We get with the MPs there, they're like, yeah, we don't know what to do with them either. Keeping in mind, this is 6 months into the war, and there's no setup, there's no system in place for this sort of situation yet. Nobody knows what to do with this joker. So we are directed that we should take this guy to another fire base that has a different field hospital and see if they have a psychologist. So the next day we load up, catch a ride basically to the next place. They don't have anybody there for me. They're like, take him to Camp Victory in Baghdad. And so we catch another ride to Baghdad with this guy, and we get to Camp Victory. And if you've ever seen pictures, that was where Saddam had the palace in the middle of the lake in Baghdad. So we get there, and we've got this guy, and we go and talk to the field hospital people and to JAG, which is the legal people for the military. And they're like, well, we don't have any facility in Iraq to do with this guy. We don't know what to do with him. Take him to Germany. So they take us to Bayat, the airport there in Baghdad, and put us on a transport to Germany with handwritten orders to take this joker to Landstuhl, which is a base in Germany that's it's basically a hospital base. So we get on this transport with this guy, and we land in Germany. Well, nobody in Germany apparently knows that we're coming. I don't know where the communication mess up was, but we land at the airport in Germany, and so we've got this joker, and we got to get to Landstuhl. And so we go, we call CAP. So this taxi comes, and this German taxi driver looks at us, and so we're standing there. It's two guys and a prisoner. I don't really want to use the word prisoner because we didn't have him cuffed up or anything. We just had him unarmed and with no gear. But both of us were fully loaded. You know, we didn't have body armor back then. The body armor didn't really come in till towards the middle of 2004. But we had the old soft flak vest, same ones they used in Vietnam. Both of us had all our web gear, weapons, ammunition, and we get a taxi. Now, this taxi pulls up, and you got my buddy, and he's a medic. So he's got a 9mm Beretta in a thigh holster. I've got a 9mm Beretta in a thigh holster and an M203 grenade launcher mounted on an M16A2 with a full combat load of grenades and ammo pouches, and I had a grenadier's vest with all the little pockets and, you know, Kevlar helmets. We've been on the road with this joker for a couple of 3 days now, 4 days. We're filthy, we stink. This guy picks us up and carries us up to the front gate of Landstuhl. And we get out with this guy, go up to the gate. The MP at the gate is like looking at us crazy because he's never, this is, you know, here a taxi pulls up and you got 2 guys and a prisoner and a bunch of guns, and he doesn't know what to do. So he has to call his supervisor. They come. After several discussions and showing of orders and all that, they finally figure out, I guess by that time maybe they had communicated or what. So they're like, okay, you need to go to this building and carry him up to the 13th floor. I think it was the 13th. I might be wrong. It was an upper floor. And talk to this doctor. So we get there, we carry this guy over to the hospital, go up in the elevator, get to this floor, and apparently this floor is the psych ward. And we're met by a doctor, and we're like, okay, here he is. We tell him, you know, what had happened, that he had decided to start shooting at our own guys, but he missed. He may have or may not have been aiming, and he may or may not have been just doing it trying to get sent home. We don't know, the MPs don't know, nobody knows, and we don't know what to do with him. We can't have him at the unit because people in the unit, rightly so, are now not liking this guy. So the doctor is like, okay, we're going to take him in and evaluate him. It'll take a couple of days. We're like, great. We're going to catch a plane back to Iraq. See you later. And the doctor's like, no, y'all aren't going to catch a plane back to Iraq because depending on what our outcome of our evaluation is, you're going to be taking this joker with you. And so you got to stay here. And we're like, well, that's not what our orders were. We're not prepared for that. We already have been on the road more days than we have clean clothes. We're filthy, all this stuff. We need to get back to our unit. And he's like, no, you got to stay because if, you know, depending on what we got to do with this guy. He's like, but don't worry, we got you all hooked up. We're going to give you a room in the guest house, which for those of you who've never been on a military base, the guest house is, it's kind of like a hotel on base. He's like, we got y'all room at the guest house. Y'all go there, clean up, do whatever. And we're both like, well, what are we supposed to do? And he's like, you're in Germany, do what you want to do. You're going to have a formation each morning with us, and we'll let you know what's going on with the guy you brought here. So we're like, okay. So we go to this hotel, and keep in mind, we're still walking around with all our weapons, ammo, everything. Go in this hotel, and we're like, well, what do we do now? And so we decide that we're going to take all our weapons and ammo and gear and hide it under the bed in the hotel because we have no place else to put it. And we're going to go to the PX and buy some underwear and some shorts and some t-shirts so that we don't have to walk around in our filthy uniforms anymore, and we can wash clothes and all that good stuff. So we go down to the cash machine on post, and my buddy gets some cash, and I go up to the cash machine and I put my card in, and there's a zero balance. I mean, and I'm telling you, like zero. There's no money in my bank account. And I'm like, what the fuck? So it should have been, because the deal was when I left to go to Iraq, I had set up my wife so that she could do computer banking to pay all the household bills. And the deal was, I said, just pay all the bills, and whatever's left, let it build up in the bank account, and then when I get home, we'll either, buy a new car, go on a vacation, something, We'll figure out what to do with the money. And keep in mind, she worked too. She was a teacher, so she had a full paycheck too. So all she had to do was pay the bills with mine, and then she could do whatever with her money. So there should have been, at 6 months in, there should have been a shit ton of money in that bank account, and there was $0. So now I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? What the hell is going on? Something ain't right. So we have to go to a payphone, because keep in mind, this is 2003. There's no worldwide cell phones. You want to call home from someplace outside the United States, you had to have a calling card and go to a payphone. So I had my calling card there, and I go to the payphone and I call home. My wife answers the phone, and I'm like, I am in Germany on a mission, going to be here a couple of days before I go back to Iraq. Tried to get some money out of the bank to buy some clothes, because I haven't had a shower in a week, and there's no freaking money. What is going on? So what she doesn't say, oh my God, I'm so glad to hear from you. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. What she says is, give me 20 minutes and there'll be money in there. Click, hangs up. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So me and my buddy, we wait 20 minutes, and I go to the cash machine, and there's $200 in there. So I take the $200 out, go back to the payphone, call home again with the calling card, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? There should be tens of thousands of dollars in this bank account. Why is there $0? And she proceeds to tell me that she is not going to be there when I get home. She does not want to be married to me anymore. And that's all there is to it. And tough shit for you. And so I'm like, well, that is supremely not cool. And we need to talk about this before, you do anything rash, because I'm kind of in a position where I don't have any choices in the matter. So that's how I found out. That was my Dear John letter. Of course, it wasn't a letter, it was a phone call, but it's the same effect. So a couple days later, the people at the hospital, they're like, okay, one of y'all can go back to Iraq, and one of y'all has to stay here until we're finished with this guy, because we want to do some more evaluations. We don't know what the fuck's going on with him, yada, yada, yada. So I told Jake, I'm like, well, I'm going back to Iraq, and you can stay here because you're the medic. And so that's what happened. I go to the airport in Germany, and I got to catch a ride back to Iraq. So I'm waiting and waiting, and basically the way it worked is they would put you on a list, and when you made it to the top of the list, you got whatever seat was available. So I'm waiting there, and I ain't lying, I was there for like 4 days, and I'm getting tired of waiting. I'm like, fuck this, I want to get back to the war. So I happened to be sitting there one day, and I noticed that the plane was getting loaded up out there, had a bunch of equipment, and a bunch of guys from the 82nd. Well, the 82nd was one of the units that we were supporting as combat engineers. So I went and talked to these guys, and I'm like, y'all got room for one more guy? He went and talked to the pilot. And they're like, yeah, we can fit you in. So I got my ride, got back to Iraq. Then I had to catch rides to get back to my fire base. It was a mess. I'm not going to go into all that. Not in this video anyways, because it doesn't have anything to do with the situation. So, get back to Iraq, get back to battalion. I go to the battalion commander. Now keep in mind, we're National Guard, so we all know each other kind of first name basis. It's not as, strict and straight as regular Army. So I go to the battalion commander. I said, look, man, this is what happened. I was in Germany, made the phone call home. All this shit's going on. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if she's paying the bills because there's no money in the bank, and I don't know if she's taking it all or if she's paying the bills or if she's going to continue to pay the bills or anything. I was like, it's a messed up situation and I need to figure out what the fuck's going on. And so he's like, well, you were due for your R&R trip to Qatar, and instead of going on R&R, we will get you home. You'll get a day or two to figure out, get all your shit straight, and then get on a plane and come back. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. So took a couple days to set it up. I go back down to Baghdad, this time unarmed, because they know I'm getting on a plane. Get on the plane, fly home. 4 or 5 different styles. It's a mess. But anyways, I get to Atlanta, and so I'm in Atlanta, and they got me a connecting flight to Augusta. So when I land in Atlanta, I call my parents. Now at this point, my parents have no idea any of this has happened. And I had not told them yet because what my thinking was I need to get home and sit down with my wife and talk to her face to face. Because obviously something's going on that I don't know what's going on. So, hadn't told anybody. Get to Atlanta, I call my parents' house and my dad answers and I'm like, look, I'm gonna be landing in Augusta in like an hour and a half. I need you to come pick me up at the airport. Don't tell anybody that you're coming to pick me up at the airport. I'm like, I will explain it when I get there. Just trust me and don't tell anybody and come pick me up at the airport. And Dad's like, okay. And kind of sounded like he didn't want to do that, which I understand. So I hang up with him. Well, Dad, being the good husband and man that he is, immediately went and talked to my mom about it. Mom's all excited. And apparently they were having my wife over for dinner. So this bitch was planning on leaving me and was still going over and having dinner with my folks. I didn't know any of this. So he tells my mom, mom's all excited. Dad leaves the house to come pick me up at the airport. While he's coming to before he gets to the airport, they're all excited. My ex-wife, now ex-wife, shows up for dinner. Mom's all excited, Dad's all excited. Keeping in mind, they don't know any of this divorce stuff is going on. They think everything's fine. So Mom excitedly tells my wife that Jean's fixing to go pick me up at the airport. She freaks out, yells at my mom, I can't believe y'all would do this to me, because she doesn't realize that they have no idea that this is going on. Gets all upset, gets in her car and leaves. So now my mom and Dad are sitting there heartbroken, like, what the fuck is going on? Because they have no idea any of this other shit's happened. So Dad comes, picks me up at the airport, tells me all that, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of why I was telling you not to tell anybody, because I was kind of hoping to catch her by surprise and talk to her before any drama happened. But not my parents' fault. They didn't know. They were just excited. They thought I was coming home. So anyways, take a day or two, got all my shit in order, got my folks to take over the bank account and pay the bills, and finally I talked to her. She was just adamant she's leaving. Turns out she had another guy, and a lot of the money, she did pay the bills, I give her that, but a lot of the excess money, she went on a cruise with friends of hers and yada yada. I don't care. I ain't mad at her because I'm better off now, so it turned out for the best. But basically I got all my shit in order so that, you know, I wouldn't lose my house or any of my stuff. Got on a plane, loaded down with all kinds of stuff everybody wanted, and went back to Iraq, finished out the tour for a year. And then really the hardest part of the whole process for me was when we came back. So we flew out of Iraq, landed in Turkey. They gave us some nice uniforms to wear. We flew from Turkey to Germany, and then from Germany to I want to say Atlanta. Yeah, it was Atlanta. And then from Atlanta, we flew and landed at Hunter Army Airfield, which is Fort Stewart, Georgia, which is where we left from. And we land at Fort Stewart. We all file off the plane. I got a picture of me kissing the tarmac. We file into a hangar. They take our weapons, which was odd because that was the first time, you know, walking around without your weapon. But anyways, they loaded us up on this bus, and they're going to carry us over to Fort Stewart to this gym where all the families are waiting. So we pull up to this gym, and I'm not going to lie to you, it felt like a cartoon. You ever seen a cartoon where a building is kind of like has a heartbeat? It's like boom ba-doo, boom ba-doo. You know, there's so much noise and shit, and you can hear the rumble. All of these families are packed into this gym, and all of the wives. It didn't matter how homely a woman may or may not have been on a daily basis. Every one of these wives was dressed like a fucking supermodel. I mean, they were ready for their husbands to be home. And of course, you know, mine wasn't there. So that was a tough day. My folks were there. They brought my dog, so thank God for them. Love them to death. But somebody wasn't getting laid that night. Everybody else was, but not me. So that is basically, you know, after all that happened. So while I was still in Iraq, after my trip home and got all that shit straight, her lawyer sent me in Iraq a separation agreement. So in the state of South Carolina, you have to have an official separation agreement and be separated for 1 year before they will grant you a divorce. So her lawyer had sent this separation agreement, and it was backdated to the day that I left to go to Fort Stewart to mobilize to go to Iraq. So when we're back at Fort Stewart, I went and bought my first cell phone because, you know, it was just a little brick phone. They didn't have smartphones then. And I called up, my dad had got me a lawyer because of all this going on for the divorce. And I call him up and I'm like, hey man, I am at Fort Stewart. I know the court date was later that week because once you reach the year, then you have a court date for the divorce. I said, I know the court date's later this week. We're just demobilizing. I can cut loose and come up there if you need me. And the lawyer was like, oh, no. I don't want you anywhere near here. I want you right where you're at. He's like, I got this. You don't worry yourself about it. I'm like, okay. And he had it. Because apparently During the first part of the court proceeding, the plaintiff, which was my now ex-wife, her lawyer was like, yes, I'm so-and-so. I am representing her. I'm not going to put her name out. Like I said, I don't hate her. I'm not mad at her. My life is better now. So I don't care. But it's like I'm the lawyer for the plaintiff, yada, yada, yada. He gets over to my guy. So I guess I would have been the defendant, or however they say it in divorce court. He's like, yep, my name is such and such. I'm the lawyer for Andrew, who is currently still at Fort Stewart demobilizing after a year in Iraq. And I had a VHS tape of these proceedings, and I wish I still had it, but I don't know what happened to it. The look on that judge's face when he looked from my lawyer over to my now ex-wife was, holy shit, dude. It was like there is a walking pile of shit in my courtroom. I can't even, because there was no what the hell do you call it? There was no adultery. There was no physical violence. There was no abuse. This was literally her just wanting a divorce. And so the proceedings went on. While I was, when I went back to Iraq, of course, she got all the furniture out of the house. And I didn't care about the furniture. All I cared about was certain items that were mine, like firearms and things like that, which she left. I mean, there really wasn't any nastiness in it. But anyway, so she basically I let her keep the furniture. They were going to make her call me and ask, did I want any of that furniture back? And I said no. I said, no, I don't want any of it. But this was a divorce hearing, and I am standing in my same shop that I owned before I went to Iraq. I got to keep my house, my truck, everything. Now, she had a car, a Volkswagen Passat, which I had bought brand new in 2003 before I went to Iraq, and I was making payments on, which she was made to get a loan and take over the payments on that vehicle, or else they were going to make her give it back to me. And so basically, yeah, it was, she kept the furniture in the car, her car, which she had to take over payments on. I kept my truck and cars and house and shop and all that good stuff. So she didn't get shit. Big no on the, no part of my retirement from the Guard or anything. So in the end, I guess it wasn't all that bad. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. But when we got done demobilizing at Fort Stewart, I came home and my house, let me tell you, it was empty. My dad had changed the locks on it once she got all her stuff out, because he came over to get the mail one day and she was in there using the washing machine after she had moved out. And Dad was like, oh, hell no, and got the locks changed. And so I came home and literally my house was empty. The only pieces of furniture that were still left in the house was a gun safe and a very large oak entertainment center. And if you think back to the 90s, we didn't have light flat screens. So if you had a 35-inch TV or a 37-inch TV, that sumbitch weighed about 400 pounds. And you had to have a very hefty entertainment center to hold it. So I had one of those. Now the TV was gone, but the entertainment center was still there because it was too damn heavy. She didn't have anybody to move it, and it was big. Other than that, there was nothing in the house. I spent my first night at home sleeping in the same fucking sleeping bag that I slept in all year in Iraq, on the floor. And then I went, now, of course, with my dad taking over my finances, the second half of the tour, I had some money in the bank, so I went and bought a bed, and a couple of friends of my folks donated some, chairs, living room chairs and shit like that. Anyways, it wasn't long before I had my house going again and met my now wife, who's wonderful, and we have 2 wonderful children, and we lived happily ever after. So, that is a Dear John letter story. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out. Hopefully this was entertaining. Every bit of it is true. I am the guy who got that. I mean, I'm it. So, there's, all kind of funny things that went on about it, but, there's only so much time in the video, so we can't get into all that. But, that is the end of that story. We'll see how often these Wednesday videos get posted. I'm hoping to try to keep that going, but it's probably not going to be every Wednesday. Like I said, every Saturday we'll still have car videos and stuff, but I'm going to post the gun videos, and videos like this of me just talking will be kind of a Saturday thing, or Wednesday. So, appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully it was entertaining for you, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.